and a very warm welcome to yet another scintillating edition of the program CAC Weekly. Now, CAC Weekly is that weekly program that keeps you abreast on the activities and the achievement of the Corporate Affairs Commission. I am Amina Jibril. Now, coming up on the program, CAC and NAICOM partners to boost fight against money laundering. Also, TAF Africa lauds CAC reform initiatives. Plus, we put a searchlight on annual return and biannual statement. But all of this will be right after this break. To stay with us.
Because of the gap in the law, we couldn't fully comply with the requirements of FATA. And after joining the OGP, in fact, the commitment was made in May 2016, at the London Anti-Corruption Summit, where Mr. President committed to Nigeria having a publicly available register of beneficial owners of companies. And that coincided with the reenactment of the Companies and Allied Matters Act. So, in coming up with the legal framework, we were faced with two issues. Who is going to be the beneficial owner? Two, what will be the ideal threshold for disclosure? And who should disclose? Luckily for us, we had a platform of the OGP, which is a co-creation arrangement between the civil society and the government. And under the auspices of that platform, it was agreed that the disclosure threshold should start from 5%. UK has a disclosure threshold of 25%, and most countries have 25%. But because of our own peculiarities, as a country that is endowed with extractive resources, the concern was, if you make it 25%, a lot of those that should disclose will escape the net. You can imagine somebody having interest in an oil block that produces hundreds of thousands of barrels of oil in a day, and maybe he has just 10% or 5% of those shares. If you make it 25%, that person will not be obliged to disclose. So, because of such concern, it was agreed that the disclosure threshold should be 5%.
Welcome back to the program. We start off today with more collaborative efforts between CAC and other regulatory agencies. Now, the Corporate Affairs Commission, CAC, and the National Insurance Commission, NAICOM, will partner to give the fight against money laundering a further boost. The resolution was reached during a courtesy call to the CAC by NAICOM. The Commissioner for Insurance and CEO of the National Insurance Commission, Thomas Olorundare Sunday, said access to the CAC's database, particularly its beneficial ownership register, would be fundamental to enriching its operations. The NAICOM scribe therefore applauded the Commission's reform initiatives and prayed for a stronger working relationship with the CAC. Responding, the Registrar General and CEO of the Corporate Affairs Commission, Alhaji Garba Abubakar, maintained that since 2021, when the Commission began implementation of CAMA 2020, it has made available details of persons with significant control, PSC, in all newly registered companies. While addressing some of the concerns of the NAICOM boss, the Registrar General said it was challenging for the CAC to capture PSCs for all the nearly 5 million registered entities, as some of them were legacy companies. In the near future, Garba Abubakar said the BOR will be a standalone register in open data format, providing access for the download of information. Now, moving on to more applauses for CAC's reform initiatives, TAF Africa, formerly the Albino Foundation, has described the Registrar General and CEO of the Corporate Affairs Commission, Alhaji Garba Abubakar, as an inclusive and veritable partner in achieving the goals of the association. The President and CEO of TAF Africa, Jake Ekpele, stated this in Abuja during a courtesy call on the Registrar General, Alhaji Garba Abubakar. Jake Ekpele, who appreciated the Registrar General's continued support for the association, also used the forum to applaud the Commission's reform initiatives, which he said have revolutionized business registration in Nigeria. Ekbale, on the other hand, requested that the Commission offer discounted registration fees for their members as additional support for the economic empowerment of TAF members, amongst other things. Responding, the Registrar General Alhaji Garba Abubakar pledged continued support to the foundation within the ambit of the law. He therefore charged the association to leverage the federal government's approved empowerment schemes provided by other government agencies for the enhancement of the lives of their members. The Registrar General also pledged to add more features to the CAC registration portal to accommodate the peculiar needs of persons with disabilities, amongst others. Now, CAC Weekly reports that the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities was represented during the visit by Soji Adewale, Director, Planning, Research and Statistics, who highlighted the agency's activities. He was pleased with the CAC's cooperation and support for the TAF Foundation. And now, training matters. In its continued bid to ensuring transparency across its processes and procedures, the Corporate Affairs Commission (CAC) held a 3-day training workshop for its Tender Evaluation Committee. The training, held in Calabar, Cross River State, is aligned with provisions of the Public Procurement Act 2007, which was themed procurement processes and procedures in the evaluation of goods, works and services, and documentation of procurement records for the Tender Evaluation Committee of the Commission. Speaking at the workshop, the Registrar General and CEO of the Corporate Affairs Commission, Alhaji Garba Abubakar, charged participants to utilize the experience garnered at the training exercise in line with the Commission's objectives. Some of the participants who spoke to CAC Weekly described it as a worthwhile experience that would go a long way in ensuring that they offer more transparent services for the growth of the country. The CAC's stride in ensuring the training of its officials is in line with the mandate of the Bureau of Public Procurement, BPP, which is responsible for harmonizing government policies and practices, as well as enhancing professional capacity for public procurement in Nigeria. A check by CAC Weekly on Investopedia reveals that procurement is the act of obtaining or purchasing goods or services, typically for business purposes. Procurement is most commonly associated with business because companies need to solicit services or purchase goods, usually on a relatively large scale. It can also include the overall procurement processes, which is critically important for companies leading up to their final purchasing decision. Now, competitive bidding is usually a part of most large-scale procurement processes involving multiple bidders. We now shift gears to post-incorporation matters. Now, do you know what annual return and biannual statement is? Investopedia defines annual return as the return that an investment provides over a period of time, expressed as a time-weighted annual percentage. Sources of returns can include dividends, returns of capital, and capital appreciation. The rate of annual return is measured against the initial amount of the investment and represents a geometric mean rather than a simple arithmetic mean. Key takeaways include an annual or annualized return is a measure of how much an investment has increased on average each year during a specific time period. An annual return can be more useful than a simple return when you want to see how an investment has performed over time or to compare two investments. An annual return can be determined for a variety of assets, including stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, commodities, and certain derivatives. Now, turning to biannual statement, CAC Weekly recalls that on the 21st of July 2022, the Commission issued a public notice in that regard, filing of biannual statement of affairs for associations. The Commission wishes to remind trustees of associations incorporated under the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020 or its precursors of the requirement to file biannual statements of affairs of their respective associations. This is in line with the provisions of Section 845, subsection 1 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, CAMA 2020, and Regulation 32 of the Companies Regulations 2021 as amended. The statements are required to cover the respective periods of January 1st to June 30th and July 1st to December 31st of every year. The timelines for filing of the statement are not later than July 15th for the statement ending June 30th and January 15th for the statement ending December 31st. Now, trustees should submit the statement on the Company Registration Portal, CRP. In addition, trustees should note that filings made after the respective timelines shall attract daily penalty against each trustee for every day during which the default continues, and in accordance with the provisions of Section 845, subsection 2 of CAMA 2020. To get a further insight on the two concepts, let us join Justin Nidia Birawal, the Director, Compliance, in our interview segment. Do stay with us.
Mr. Nidia Justin Birawal, Director Compliance, CAC, many thanks for joining us again.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Today we are going to be looking at annual returns and biannual statements, of affairs for incorporated trustees. But before we go into the nitty-gritty, help us break it down. We understand there are two types of NPOs, non-profit organizations. We have the company limited by guarantee and incorporated trustees.
Yeah, that's very true. Both of them are considered as non-profit organizations.
Okay.
But they are registered under different parts of Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020. Okay, but basically, like we said, two of them are considered as NPOs.
Why will a limited liability company be considered as an NPO, non-profit organization?
Well, from time immemorial, it is considered that certain type of companies could operate with a view of making profit that will not be distributed to the members.
Okay. So we make profit and give it to CAC?
No, whatever profit you make, you plow it back into the operations of the company.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you pay workers? How do you pay wages, or is not part of it?
Payment of wages is considered as part of operations.
Okay.
What
about allowances? Feeding?
For employees, that is also considered as expenses for the companies.
Okay. So you have such companies running?
We have.
Okay. You have an example?
We have so many of them, like the big companies. The big companies could register a guarantee company to discharge what is called their social responsibilities.
Corporate social responsibility.
Corporate social responsibility.
Is that the same thing as raising a foundation?
Yes, foundation could be registered also as a company limited by guarantee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the other one, the incorporated trustees.
The incorporated trustees, the difference between it and the company limited by guarantee is that while the law allows a company limited by guarantee to generate profits, for incorporated trustees, it is considered that those type of organizations should not be registered with the objective of making profit at all.
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
But that they should be registered to pursue certain defined aims and objectives, which is considered useful to the society.
Okay. We'll come back to how people make money from such companies. But let's look at the difference between the annual, everybody knows annual returns, but the other new injections by CAMA 2020 is the biannual statement for incorporated. So what's the difference?
Well, for the biannual statement, like we said, is a new requirement, and it is only required for incorporated trustees under what is called Part F of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020. So the clear difference we could see from the two is that the biannual statement, for instance, is not required for a company limited by guarantee. It is strictly required for incorporated trustees.
Okay.
And usually what should be contained in the biannual statement is just a statement of fact as to what changes have occurred in the incorporated trustees within the last 6 months. You are looking at whether officials of the incorporated trustees have changed, whether they have acquired assets within the last 6 months, and whether also they have acquired liabilities in the 6 months, or any other information that could be of interest to members of the public. The idea is that you don't have to wait
till the end of the year.
Till the end of the year
Okay.
to disclose certain changes that are considered of importance to the society.
Okay, so the thinking behind it is just a mechanism for updating the public.
Yeah, because some of the incorporated trustees actually involve large number of interests. There could be so many members. They could be playing very important roles in the society. Quite a number of them are also financed by way of subscription of funds from the members of the public. So it is considered that there is always, particularly for the larger incorporated trustees, that there is larger public interest in knowing what is happening in the affairs of the trustees.
Okay, so let's go to requirements for filing the annual returns for incorporated trustees before we go to the biannual statement.
Well, one clear difference we would see between the biannual statement and the annual returns for incorporated trustees, for example, is that while the annual return would require what is called financial statement, financial statement is not required for biannual statement.
Okay.
Rather, the items that we mentioned, what changes occurred, maybe in terms of whether they have acquired landed properties or other assets, or whether the governing council has changed, or whether trustees have changed, or generally whether there are liabilities also that have come up. So those are the type of information that should be in a summary form filed with the commission.
Okay.
Every six months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not a big deal. It's just
it's not a big deal, and it's not this thing, particularly now that almost all online processes, all our processes are online. So you just log on, get the relevant form and fill it online and submit.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about for the annual returns?
For the annual return, it is required under the old act that where an incorporated trustees, for instance, collect money from the public or what is called third parties, then they will be required to file financial statement. But under KAMA 2020, it has been made compulsory. Whether you collect money from third parties or you don't collect money from third parties, you are required to file your annual return with financial statement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now, so let's go to the recent development. That incorporated trustees will have to comply with the requirements of the Money Laundering Act 2022.
Yes, initially the thinking was that because incorporated trustees are considered as NGOs, they
are also considered as conduit pipe for money laundering.
Some of them could actually be used for money laundering. That's why under the new Money Laundering Act 2022, incorporated trustees are required to register with what has been called SCUMUL,
Okay.
SCUMUL is a specialized department under the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the EFCC.
That's the EFCC. So they are required to register or get license from SCUMUL. And they are also required to comply with other relevant requirements of that act, quite a few of which they could also render periodic report to SCUMUL. That also means that at any point in time, SCUMUL is free to visit their premises and ask for relevant information that are required under the Money Laundering Act. Yes. So those are new additional requirements that incorporated trustees are required to comply with.
But from experience, what is the level of compliance as far as the NGOs are concerned?
In terms of annual returns?
In terms of complying with this Money Laundering Act?
Well, Money Laundering Act, like you said, is a recent development. It was passed in 2022. The framework is for filing, in particular, has been developed. So the awareness is being created both by EFCC and other relevant stakeholders on the need for incorporated trustees to also get the relevant license.
Okay. What about the level of compliance for the biannual statement of affairs? I know annual return is something every registered company has to do, but for biannual statement of affairs, what's the level of compliance?
Well, to be frank to you, the numbers has not been encouraging.
Okay. Why?
But we wouldn't be specific, maybe because it is new. Okay. And initially, actually, there was that resistance that why should there be too much obligations put on NGOs that are there to help relieve poverty or other needs in the society? Why should they be even filing returns? That was considered to be too burdensome. But looking at the other benefits of the biannual statement, particularly on the issue of money laundering and other public need, there is actually a need, and more so that the process is very easy. It is important that non-profit organizations should file those statements.
Are there penalty for those who are not complying with filing the biannual statement?
Yeah, there are penalties for both filing annual returns
and the biannual statement.
Biannual statement for failure to file within the stipulated time. Okay, and the penalty is usually on each trustee and the incorporated trustee itself. So this enlightenment, therefore, is necessary to draw the attention of those who operate NPOs that they need actually to file those statements within the stipulated period of time. That's, for instance, if you are to file the one for end of June, you need to file it between end of June and July. So for the one that is for December, you need to file it in January.
Okay.
So if you file within those periods, you may not incur penalties.
Okay.
But if you allow that 1 month to go, then you run into penalties. And the penalties are for each trustees and for the organization.
Okay, okay,
yes.
Multiple penalties.
By the time you add it, it becomes cumulative. It could be too heavy.
For them to even pay.
For them to even pay. So we want to avoid those type of scenarios or situations from the inception.
I know we can go on and on and on, but I must thank you so much indeed, sir, for your time.
Oh, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir.
Great insights there from Mr. Justin Nidia Pirawal. On that note, we come to the end of this week's edition of the program, CAC Weekly. We do hope you enjoyed watching. Remember, for comments and inquiries, you can please take advantage of our social media handles and our helplines. On Twitter, it is CAC Nigeria 1. On Instagram and Facebook, it is Corporate Affairs Commission. Our email is cservice@cac.gov.ng. You could visit our website via www.cac.gov.ng. And our helplines are on the numbers 081-822-99016 or 081-822-98971, 090-874-01598 or 090-874-01599 and 090-874-01600. Join us again next week for yet another action-packed edition of the program CAC Weekly. Same time and same station. I am Amina Jibril, saying bye for now.